What is up, everybody? Welcome to day 7 of the All About How podcast from growingau.com. I am your host, John Knott. It is blowing my mind that we are already at a week of this podcast. Part of me feels like it hasn't even been a week yet, and the other part of me feels like, oh my God, it's already been like freaking months, just because I feel like I've been doing it for so long, basically because within the course of a week, it's just become such a natural part of my day to come up here and record one of these podcasts, and I enjoy that. That gives me a lot of hope for the rest of the year. It's that this is going to continue to go really well, and I'm excited for it and to see how this is all going to turn out. But this is the first week down, and I'm going to say that it was a pretty successful week, full of learning, full of good experiences, full of spreading value, joy, hopefully some happiness as well to the world. Really enjoyed it. And if you've listened with us and you've joined us here in the first week of this podcast, you guys, I'm telling you what, you're revolutionary. You see the next stuff that's coming around the corner. So good for you. Glad you're here. I could not even begin to show you or tell you how much I appreciate it. It does mean the world to me. Thank you for being here today. We have a awesome value-packed episode for the end of this week, and let's go ahead and roll the intro so we can jump on into it. This is all about how. Let's get into it.
It's all about how in 2020 we're going to leave the world a better place than we found it.
Okay, so this was not originally the video that I had planned for today. However, some stuff and conversations I had this morning really shifted my viewpoint, and it made me want to come on here and talk about this, and that is the need to create. And if you're a creative person, I consider myself to be a highly creative person, and it's not so much that's not so much a flex as much as it is a mentality and a state of mind. If you find yourself to be an individual who is incredibly creative, then you understand how difficult it can be sometimes when you do not have the ability to create. I started a podcast with my sister, actually, and it's called The Sizzlecast from 2 Leagues. It's a food-based podcast. It's going to be launching later next week here. I'm going to talk to you more about it as we get closer. But before that, there was some stuff I wanted to do with a podcast that I was not able to do immediately with this podcast, and it was actually really starting to get to me, mainly because you know that when you have a creative idea as a highly creative person, and when you cannot pursue that idea, you can physically feel it. So let's talk about the need to create. I think a lot of people say that you have to create for yourself, and you have to create for no one else but you, and that should be the only reason that you're creating. I have some thoughts about that, and I want to talk about them today. I was having a conversation this morning with a friend of mine who is starting a blog, and they have not gotten a lot of traction yet. And I would say that it's in a lot of similar ways to this podcast, is that, we're starting out, we're getting things up and moving, but the traction hasn't quite hit yet. And the only difference is this individual has been doing it for quite some time. And I think the difference is when you say that you have to create for yourself, that's only half of the equation. Yes, we're creating for ourselves because as highly creative people, we have the need and necessity to create. However, I think it's also the need and necessity to spread that idea out to the world as a whole. And I feel like the two go hand in hand. You create for yourself because you have to, but you want to, in some way, shape, or form, inspire others, show others, share that creation, look at what I made with others at the same time. So to say that the only reason you should create is for yourself, I think is an idea that can help when the going gets tough, but I don't think that in any sense of the word that'll ever be the kind of the end all be all of creation. Is that there's a second part of the creative process that is the sharing, that is the promoting, that is the part where you get to show people this is what I came up with, and this is what I did, and this is what I built. And that is a integral part of the creative process. On 2 Leaks, the other channel that I run, I had a conversation with my business partner, John. What's up, buddy? I know you're listening. Hope you're having a good day. How's that walk? I hope it's pretty good. All right. So I had a conversation with him the other day, and we were talking about some of our traction, some stuff that was going on, and it's hard, man. Those first couple days are hard. Those, even not a couple days, I'm talking like a couple weeks here at this point, which is no time at all. Like, it's all still part of the creative process. Things take time. But when you're in those moments, when you're in the trenches, in those moments of the early stages of the creative process and the early stages of the building process, that's hard. It's hard to deal with because you're putting a lot of time and effort, even possibly a lot of money into something and not seeing the result that you know you can get, just because it's going to take more time for those results to come. And all you can do is just simply wait and keep doing what you're doing and finding better ways to do it and keep continuing to be more efficient. And that is something that we've struggled with a little bit, but we also understand that that's a necessary part of the process. But I think to say that the only reason to create is for yourself, it negates the value that you bring with creation. Because I think, like, if you look at business, if you're creating a business just to make money, you're not going to make a whole lot of money. It's like chasing a cat. If you want the cat to come, if you want to get a cat, let the cat come to you. Don't chase the cat. If you want money, let the money come to you. Have what the money wants, right? And if you create a business just for yourself, then what's the point of creating that business? Now, this is a personal opinion. I know Will Smith shares this opinion, but if you're not improving somebody's life, you're wasting your time. And so I think that's where that second part of the integral part of the creative process comes in, is that if you're not doing it to help somebody else, to inspire somebody else, to entertain somebody else, what's the point of creating? And to see and to say that, it's not going, that's hard. That is very hard on a creative person. And I think that's okay to admit the strain and this toll that will take on a creative person, because half of what it is you're doing isn't being fulfilled yet. And here's the unfortunate part about creation in 2020. There's so much out there. If you look up on YouTube how to start a successful blog, I almost can guarantee you that 95% of those videos that you're going to watch are going to talk about not just like, oh, let's use WordPress, let's use Blogger, let's use Tumblr, let's start a website. It's not going to talk about that. It's going to talk about, okay, you want to start a successful blog, so let's see how we can get our social media marketing campaign set up. Let's see how we can link Instagram, our Facebook page, our Twitter, our, TikTok accounts, and all this kind of stuff. Let's see how we can link those to our blogs, and we can outsource to an email marketing campaign where we can, send our blogs out to people, and maybe we can tie it into a podcast, and we can even have a YouTube channel where we can have video logs and stuff like that. We can talk about our blog on there. We can relate it back and all this type of stuff. And we could pay for marketing campaigns on Facebook. And the ability to create anymore has just become so industrialized. It's kind of sad that being able to create is now not just creating, it's being able to also kind of build a successful business around it. And the thought process on that, as I said, is that you can create for yourself, but that's only half of the creative process. The other half is the sharing. And it's almost impossible to get that sharing without creating your email marketing lists and your campaigns and your social media plans. But ultimately, all you want to do is get your idea out to the world. And so if marketing is something that you have no interest in, if marketing is something that you don't want anything to do with, which is okay because that's a personal thing, it's just who you are, then getting anything out to the world becomes significantly difficult. And I think it's incredibly unfortunate that the creative process has become so industrialized. Where is the creation for the sake of creation? The, creativity for creativity's sake, for example, like where that's no longer around. You could be making the best podcast. You could be making the best videos. You could be writing a superb, blog that adds value to the English language or any language for that matter. And if you don't know how to market it, it doesn't matter. So it comes down to you either have to learn all of these marketing techniques, or you have to pay somebody an exuberant amount of money to do it for you. And I think there's value to both. But the time or the money or the effort and the energy that you spend doing either of those two things, I mean, that's going to take away from your overall creative drive and creative process. Because now, instead of sitting, okay, hold on, think about this, right? If you ever watch the Joe Rogan Experience, okay, if you ever, watch Star Talk with Neil deGrasse Tyson, we talked about them both yesterday. That's why I'm using them, okay? If you ever watch both of those podcasts, you think those guys are worried about their equipment? You think either of those guys are worried about, putting it up on their podcast hoster and making sure that their RSS feed is linked up to all of the different podcasting platforms and making sure they can go into YouTube and switch the thumbnail around and making sure they can export a promo to Instagram and all this type of stuff? No. These guys are just worried about creation. And so what's my point here? I'm kind of rambling on, and it sounds like I'm complaining, because I'm really not. Because, see, for someone like me, I hope there's a day where I can just sit down, record a podcast, and have somebody else who, do all of it. That'd be great. But for me, I'm going into business. I'm going into marketing. So this stuff is in my wheelhouse. I enjoy learning how to do this. So that's fine. But I'm talking about everyone else who wants to start a creative journey. You can't just start the creative journey without learning the marketing and business side of the journey. And that takes away from the creation. So I think what it comes down to is two things, is that it requires possibly a cultural switch in the way that we consume media, and understanding that the startup community of entrepreneurs, creators, innovators, everyone like that startup community, which I'm trying to build here on growingau.com, those people need to support each other. We need to support each other. We need to consume each other's media. We can watch all the big stuff, but only watching the big stuff is why we have trouble not getting our stuff off the ground. So if you support the little guy, good chance that you as the little guy are going to get supported back. Let me give you an example. Over on 2 Leaks, there's a Instagram account. You can go look it up, Spoon Fork Bacon. Awesome account. Terry Lynn Fisher and Jenny Park. Love them both. They're wonderful human beings. And we contacted them on 2 Leaks. Now, mind you, they had 300,000 followers, okay? We contacted them when we had 30 followers. We contacted them and said, hey, we're cooking through your cookbook. We're going to put out 3 YouTube videos released on this date, and we're going to, put a whole bunch of Instagram content. So just stay aware of it. Look around. Keep your eye out for it. That's all we said. Okay? Now, we did have a plan, obviously. But then Terry Lynn Fisher reaches back out to us and she says, hey, this is incredible. Let us know and when it comes out, and make sure you tag our account so we can give you a shout out. And sure enough, after 3 weeks of putting out their content, we were tagging the account, all that kind of stuff. And when it was done, we just let them a message and said, hey, we really hope you enjoyed our content. And then the next day on the dot, we got a shout out from a 300,000 follower page. Now, we didn't get a lot of return from that shout out, and that's not the fault of the page. It's just the fault of, unfortunately, the pandemic that's going around the world. It started to get bad right as they shout us out. So we're chalking it up to that. But still, we, as a 30 follower page, were able to get shouted out by 300,000 follower page. That's a successful gain right there. So look, if we support each other, if you support somebody with 400 followers, and then they will come back and support you with 100 followers, or even vice versa. It doesn't really matter the amount of followers, but if you support somebody and add value to their life, chances are they're going to come back and add value to your life. So if we all learn to support each other, if the little guys, and I'm one of you, if all of us learn to support each other and help each other grow, that's going to help the creative process become the creative process again. Because we are going to say, you do you, man. You do you, girl. You do what you want to do. You create what you want to create. And we're going to listen. We're going to consume. We're going to watch. We're going to share. And we're going to support it. Because ultimately, nobody else is going to do it unless we're into the whole marketing thing, right? And we can, win that game. But for some people, that's just not it. So I'm releasing a call to action in this video. At some point this week, okay? So that's between now and next Saturday. You need to find a startup podcast, a startup blog, a startup YouTube channel, something that is just starting out. Give them a follow, give them a listen, and specifically, as I said in the beginning, give them a subscribe, a follow, a friending, whatever it is on the platform. Make sure that you're following them. Give them that support and share them. Let's do that for each other. Let's do that for the community. I will find one too. And a week from now on Saturday, I'll come back here and tell you who I found, and we'll talk about it. But we're going to do that. We're going to share. Everyone in the community is going to go share a small podcast, a small blog, a small YouTube channel. You pick the form that you want to use, and we're going to share them. We're going to follow them. We're going to show them a little bit of support. That's what we're going to do. I think it's going to be awesome. This is the start of building this awesome community and helping people start out. Because we are going to take the industrialization out of creativity and make it for the creative again. So hope you enjoyed this podcast. Hope that you found some value in this and understand what I'm saying here. And I hope that it kind of opens up the eyes a little bit. If you are a creative person, you're having that struggle, I understand where you are. I do. And just to know, just keep creating, okay? Because we're going to find ways to make that second half become the reality. I love you guys. Thanks for listening. This has been a wonderful first week here at the All About How podcast from growingau.com. As always, I am your host, John Knott. If you want to follow me on social media, that's John Knott AU. If you want to follow the account on social media, it's Growing AU. So go ahead and check us out on social media. I think you're going to love it. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot. The daily fact of the day. Okay, the daily fact of the day. So we're doing this. It's already posted on social media. So, did you know that Earth currently has 2 moons? And now, before you say I'm crazy, no, I'm being for real. Earth currently has 2 moons. The moon, obviously, that's been there for a little while now. And 2020 CD3 is the name of this new moon. It's about the size of a compact car, and it's an asteroid that got picked up. It had a close pass with Earth and got picked up in Earth's orbit, and is currently orbiting the Earth. That is a satellite, a natural satellite that is orbiting the Earth. It's the definition of a moon. So right now, Earth has 2 moons. We are literally Tatooine. It's fantastic. The moon is expected to leave in sometime in April. It's going to work its way out of our orbit. But as of right now, you live on a planet with 2 moons. It was discovered by the Catalina Sky Survey, so you can go look this up online. I highly recommend it. It's a fascinating read. But yeah, this planet currently has 2 moons. When's the next time that's going to happen? Who the heck knows? But that's pretty cool. So that's the fact of the day. Hope you guys enjoyed. This has been John Knott from growingau.com. You're listening to All About How podcast. Day 7, signing off. See you guys tomorrow.